Hi everyone, this is Carolyn Speaks, the state of our world on Wednesday, March 31st, 2021. So what is it? Good, bad, or indifferent? Well, how about all three? The coronavirus is still with us. Coronavirus fatalities top 550,000, and Florida has undercounted thousands of deaths. Uh, U.S. COVID-19 death toll has topped 550,000, by far the highest in the world, and the true figure is likely even higher. A new study in the American Journal of Public Health suggests Florida has undercounted the number of COVID deaths by thousands. This comes as Arkansas has become the latest state to lift its statewide mask mandate, ignoring calls by President Biden for states to keep restrictions in place. As COVID-19, as COVID cases are rising in 26 states. In vaccine news, Pfizer has announced clinical trials show its COVID-19 vaccine is 100% effective for use between the ages of 12 and 15. Isn't that sad that Florida has undercounted fatalities because it hurt their economy, and they have opened up everything. They don't have a mask mandate, and they just don't care. That's very, very sad. So hopefully that'll change and things will get better. Now, the Michael Bloomberg is a very wealthy man, and his employees got special access to vaccines at NYU hospitals. The New York Times has revealed that NYU Langone Health, a major hospital system in New York City, has set aside COVID-19 vaccines solely for employees of Bloomberg, which is run by the billionaire former mayor of New York, Mike Bloomberg. The news comes just weeks after Bloomberg Philanthropies gave another part of NYU a $25 million donation. I guess money talks. Now, former Mayor Bloomberg does a lot of good things. He's very generous. He's supporting climate change issues, making environmental issues, and he does a lot of good stuff. But to give a hospital money and then ask them to put their employees at the head of the line for the vaccine, it's not very fair. I guess money talks, right? All right. Now, China delivers 100,000 COVID vaccines to Palestine. In international news, Palestinian authorities have received 100,000 vaccine doses from China in a boost to efforts to vaccinate the 3 million Palestinians living in the West Bank. While Israel has vaccinated more than half of its population, it has largely refused to vaccinate Palestinians, except for some who work in Israel or in illegal settlements. Very, very sad. I've talked about this a number of times that Israel is discriminating against its Palestinian constituents, not realizing that the virus spread. It's a virus. The COVID-19 is a virus. It spreads through the air, and you don't vaccinate these people, they can spread it. You don't give them personal protective equipment, they can spread it. So you have to protect all your people. So Israel doesn't really get high marks for uh, being a good vaccinator of their own people because they're leaving out the Palestinians. And the United States, we give them tons of money from our treasury, which they in turn use to buy our weapons of war. So why do we give them so much money and so little to the Palestinians? We should force them to give personal protective equipment and vaccines to the Palestinians. Let's see how far that goes. Okay, that's a thought. See how far we can get that to go. Now, 2 police deputies in Texas are indicted for killing Javier Ambler after a traffic stop. A grand jury in Texas has indicted 2 former police deputies in second-degree manslaughter charges for killing Javier Ambler, a black man. Ambler was tasered to death in Austin in March of 2019 after being pulled over for not dimming his headlights for oncoming traffic. As he was dying, Ambler said, "I have congestive heart failure and I can't breathe." Bail has been set at $150,000 for the two deputies, James Johnson and Zachary Camden. So maybe we get some justice in Texas. Driving while black should not be a crime. Now, Capitol Police officers sue Trump as GOP welcomes Oath Keepers founder in Texas. Two police officers at the U.S. Capitol who were injured in the January 6th insurrection have sued former President Trump for inciting and directing the right-wing rioters. Meanwhile, Republicans are continuing to embrace backers of the violent insurrection. Video has emerged showing Stuart Rhodes, the founder of the far-right group, the Oath Keepers, speaking at an official Republican event in Texas on March 26 in the border town of Laredo. Other speakers at the event included Texas Republican Party Chair Allen West. Over a dozen members of the Oath Keepers have been charged with conspiracy for attacking the U.S. Capitol. Obviously, the Republicans seem to want a revolution, and they seem to want violence. They don't want equality. Hopefully, these two police officers who are suing Trump will be successful in getting a very large settlement, and maybe we can put Trump out of business for good. Very unfortunate. The Republican Party has turned into a party of discrimination, hate, and fear, and violence. Very, 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 very sad. Now, what's been in the news lately is in New York City, a Filipino woman was viciously attacked in Manhattan, near Times Square, as she was walking to church on Monday. Video footage shows the man kicked the woman in her stomach and then repeatedly stomped on her face while reportedly yelling anti-Asian slurs. The assailant walked away as bystanders, including security guards at a luxury apartment building, did nothing in response. New York mayoral candidate Andrew Yang condemned the attack. Very unfortunate. We have such hate going on in our country and in New York, and people didn't step up to help her. And there's always been anti-Asian feelings here. However, Trump did a lot to escalate that hate and fear of Asians when he's blaming China for the virus. He called it the China virus. So hopefully, the man who has been arrested will go to jail forever, and maybe he'll get the virus and end up on a ventilator. Actions have consequences. Words, rhetoric have consequences. Okay, that's very, very sad. I hope she's in the hospital. She's getting treated. They said she's going to be okay. All right. Now, the UN accuses France of killing 19 civilians in bombing of wedding party. In news from Mali, a United Nations investigation has determined French warplanes bombed a wedding party in January, killing 19 civilians. The mass killing prompted protests in Mali, where France has deployed 5,000 troops. France rejected the findings of the UN report, claiming all the victims were Islamic militants. Yes, everyone who you don't like is a terrorist or an Islamic militant. France has a lot. France definitely has blood on their hands. Also, what's happening in the Western Sahara, Algeria. France that's a former colony of France. So, hopefully, we will, France will be held accountable. Now, in Washington State, lawmakers have voted to ban for-profit prisons. Lawmakers in Washington State have passed a bill banning for-profit prisons and immigrant detention facilities in a move that could result in the eventual shutdown of the Northwestern Detention Center in Tacoma, which is run by the GEO group. During the pandemic, many asylum seekers imprisoned at Northwest launched several hunger strikes protesting the squalid and dangerous conditions inside the ICE jail. The bill now heads to Governor Jane Inslee's desk. Hopefully, it'll be passed. We shouldn't have for-profit prisons on a local, state, or federal level because they only get paid if they get people put in jail. Very bad to have for-profit prisons. Hopefully, they will be held accountable and they will go out of business. Okay, now, what else is new? Civil rights groups file second legal challenge to Georgia's voter suppression bill. Georgia voting rights groups have filed a second lawsuit seeking to block a sweeping voter suppression law signed by Republican Governor Brian Kemp last week. So the law grants broad power to state officials to take control of election management from local and county election boards, adds new voter ID requirements, and even makes it a crime to hand out food or water to voters waiting in line at polling places. Meanwhile, the children of prominent civil rights leaders have condemned Georgia's business leaders for their silence on Republican-led voter suppression efforts. In a joint letter, they write, "The failure of corporate leaders across our state to live up to their racial equity commitments made in the last years, the last year, disregards and disrespects our father's tireless work and jeopardizes the soul of Georgia and the promise of democracy." So, why is Georgia doing this? They don't want people to vote because they won't vote for them. If they had policies that attracted everyone's vote, they'd be doing good, but they can't. They don't want policies that attract other people's votes. They don't want diversity. Now, so that's what we have. Now, so that's some of the things we have going on, and a lot more. Also, with regard to the coronavirus, Brazil in crisis as COVID deaths soar and military chiefs quit in protest. Brazil is facing a mounting public health and political crisis. On Tuesday, Brazil recorded nearly 3,800 new COVID-19 deaths, its highest daily death toll yet. Meanwhile, the heads of Brazil's Army, Navy, and Air Force are all quit in an unprecedented move a day after Brazil's far-right president Bolsonaro ousted his defense minister as part of a broader cabinet shakeup. Developments have alarmed many in Brazil who believes Bolsonaro, who is a former army captain, will install ultra-loyalists to the military post to consolidate his power ahead of next year's election, when he's expected to be challenged by former President Luiz Ignacio Lula da Silva. Now, Bolsonaro, head of Brazil, wants to wipe out the Amazon and all the indigenous peoples, and I don't know how he got elected and stayed in office. So hopefully, he will lose the election, and hopefully he'll get the virus again, because he has had it, and he says he's recovered, but who knows? Now, so that's interesting in Brazil. Very interesting. Now, we have a lot of stuff going on, and we have to pay attention. The world is changing, and we have to change with it. Can't. Hi, back again. Now, there's a bloody crackdown in Burma since February 1st when the military coup occurred, and the crackdown has killed 500 plus people amid resistance from youth and women. Burma was a British colony. The British extracted the oil from Burma. They're oil company, British Petroleum, and they finally, after World War II, get freed Burma, but put the military in charge and said that after 50 years, the Burmese people could have a civilian government, which they did. And then a few years later, this year, the military had a coup and reinstalled themselves as the leaders. Very, very, very sad. And Britain basically has blood on their hands for this after what they went through in World War II and all the bombings they had, and if we having to be saved by America, they, why do they have to insist on continuing their colonies? Uh, they had colonies all over, and Burma was not the only one. So hopefully they'll be able to do something about getting the military out of Burma. There are various ethnic groups in Burma. The Rohingya is one of them, and they fled to Bangladesh, which welcomed them, but then there's devastating fire. So, and then there's another group that is being attacked by the Burmese militaries. So why can't someone just go in and take over from the Burmese military? I don't know. Now, there's something that's going on here is Trans Day of Visibility, and activists are speaking out. The LGBTQ rights groups are supporting trans people in their quest for equality and to get the medical treatment they need. Trans people, if someone is born as a girl, but they psychologically feel more comfortable as a boy, or someone is born as a boy and feels more comfortable psychologically as a girl, and there are treatments to make that happen. So, but they're being discriminated against. Now, George Floyd's murderer, police, the lead police guy who helped to kill him, Chauvin, his trial is ongoing now. So hopefully he will be held accountable. Now, New York has been ordered to vaccinate incarcerated people, and hopefully Governor Cuomo will sign this bill, and they will also curb solitary confinement as a punishment. I don't understand why it takes an order to get New York to vaccinate their incarcerated people, because someone has the virus, it spreads, and people going to work at the prisons, jails, they go in there and they get the virus and they spread it around. So I don't understand why New York had to be ordered to vaccinate incarcerated people. So hopefully that will happen. Now, so we have a lot of things going on, and what are we going to do about all that? I don't know. The world's a mess. So that's a lot of news for today. Summing up, the virus is still with us. People are still getting it. People still going to hospitals. People are still losing their life to the virus. Still have people who are refusing to wear a mask, practice social distancing, only go when they have to, and only socialize with those in their immediate household. So that is it's very sad that people are still fighting that. But in 1919, we had a virus. In 19, it was a pandemic, and it originated on an army base, a U.S. Army base, I believe in Kansas. And the president at the time, Woodrow Wilson, refused to acknowledge the seriousness because he was in the middle of fighting World War I to help the British and the French and the Germans. So anyway, he helped to spread it. Woodrow Wilson, I should call it the Woodrow Wilson virus. but somehow it got the name Spanish flu. I don't understand that. Now we have a virus that came to us probably sometime late 2019, and Trump calls it the Chinese virus, which has led to a lot of discrimination and crimes, hate crimes against Asian American people. It also has led to over 550,000 fatalities just in the U.S. Uh, we're still getting thousands of new cases every day, and still getting new fatalities every day. So we have to change that. You have to do the right thing, be responsible. Okay, now, is there anything else you'd like to talk about? How about a little music for today? And let's see what we can do about that. All right, yesterday I sang Goodnight Irene. Okay, today I'd like to sing, okay, Michael, very old song. Michael row the boat ashore, hallelujah. Michael row the boat ashore, hallelujah. Sister help to trim the sails, hallelujah. Sister help to trim the sails, hallelujah. Jordan River is chilly and cold, hallelujah. Chills the body, but not the soul. Hallelujah. The river is deep and the river is wide. Hallelujah. Milk and honey on the other side. Hallelujah. Okay, that is Michael, a very old song. I hope you liked it. Now, it's time to say goodnight. Remember to take care of yourself and others, and keep that mask on. Practice social distancing. Only that when you have to. And remember, kindness goes a long way. Kindness goes a very long way. And support health guidelines. President Biden is working very hard to get control of this virus, so help him. Wear a mask only when you have to, and the vaccine is available for you. Take the vaccine. Okay, good night. Thank you for joining us this Wednesday evening, March 31st, 2021. Hope to see you again tomorrow. Thank you. Stay safe. Good night.